particular, the NRL looking into one incident involving a trainer at the death.
Yeah, look, I get accused of being a Panthers cheerleader at the best of times, but I thought the incident at the end of the game there with Mitch Kenny and the trainer calling time off, not a good look for the game. I think it's the second time this year it's happened with this trainer. Now, the NRL is investigating whether or not they deliberately breached the rules. The rules state that an initial assessment needs to be made before a trainer can ask for time off. Now, footage shows that the Panthers trainers weren't on the field. The only trainers that were there were Parramatta's trainers. So the NRL are looking into that. Don't be surprised if they get fined, and at worst, Pete Green, the physio, may be suspended for this game because this is the second time that Pete's been involved in an incident. He was given a show cause notice earlier in the year for that game against the Sharks. I think, Gus, you were calling it. You were quite animated on air about this situation here where Viliami Kikau had run back 80 or 90 metres and then the time was called off because
who cares if he gets fined? What's the fine going to be? 10
well, who cares? Parramatta fans are blowing up because they say they would have scored.
Parramatta would rather pay a fine and be playing this week? I bet they would be.
That's the thing. The rules allow manipulation.
Exactly, and it's the game's fault. I don't blame the Penrith trainer. It's the game's fault.
You'd do it if you were in the same position.
100%.
I understand.
The game is a war of attrition. Injuries happen. We don't want to see injuries happen. But if there's a player injured on the ground, play on until there's a stoppage in the game. If there's a try scored or the ball goes dead or a ball goes out, stop the game then and check how he is. Look, the problem is there was a couple of years ago up in North Queensland, someone had a broken leg.
Nene McDonald.
Now, look, that's one in how many times?
Yeah, but everyone was blowing up at the time, saying the NRL negligent, no duty of care.
Not everyone was blown up. I wasn't blown up. Certain people weren't blown up. A lot of the fans were blown up. That's who was blown up. We can't keep listening to the fans.
Well, Freddie said that we cannot give the trainers the power to start games, stop games.
This is the problem. The game has given trainers the power. It's the game's fault. It's not the trainer's fault. It's not Penrith's fault. It's the game's fault.
The best $20,000, $30,000 they'll ever spend.
100%. Make 50.
Because they had them on the ropes there, Parramatta.
Without a doubt. I just think it's a stupid rule made by the game. That's the problem.
Is it fair game, Gus?
He's sitting there very quietly.
Done.
All of a sudden they're experts. I've been saying this for 3 years.
No,
if you keep making stupid, pedantic rulings and be influenced by social media in trying to shape your game, then you're going to end up with this. And the top coaches and the top players and the top referees will make a mockery of you the closer you get to the big games. And there were a number of instances on the weekend where players made a mockery of the rules. And there were a number of times where the rules have come back against us. It's reported that the Panthers made 15 interchanges on the weekend. 15 interchanges. When you take into HIAs, every time we put a player on report now, so every time you go back 3 tackles and the bunker wants to put someone on report for some innocuous incident, that gives a free interchange to the other team. We had Blake Ferguson milking a crusher tackle here. Why? Because they've allowed them to milk it all year. Now in your post-important moment. Let me tell you, the penalty goal that ended up deciding the game... Yeah.
He's had a broken neck.
Let me ask this question. The penalty goal that ends up deciding the game, no one knew that penalty just before half-time would have decided the game. That ended up being the difference in the score. The 2 points, the high hit on Liam Martin. And that crusher tackle incident there like that. You tell me, with a minute to go in a grand final, 12 all in front of the post, the referee's going to penalise those incidents? Not in a blue moon. They had chances to penalise the Panthers in front of the post the other night late in the game, but wouldn't do it because it was match defining. So what they take during the game and during the course of the year comes back to bite them later in the year. If you can't penalise someone in front of the post with a minute to go in a grand final at 12 all, then it's not a penalty at any time. The problem is you've been so pedantic with it all year. Obstruction rules, all sorts of things, putting players on report, tackle without the ball, crusher tackles, all these different things that we're looking at, bumps in the night, players getting in each other's way. We want to go back and put them on report and penalise them. Take that forward to grand final day and tell me you're going to penalise it in front of the post with a minute to go. You can't, which means you can't do it back then. I've been saying it for 3 years. I'm going blue in the face saying it, James. Everyone thinks I'm a whinger and everyone thinks I'm complaining for the sake of it. I don't. I'm trying to help the bloody game. I'm trying to help the people that do all this and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And you got your receipt on the weekend. Trainers running on and stopping the game. How often this year have we seen trainers running on and stopping the game? It's been a blessing because the score's been 50-0 a lot of the times and we wanted the game to stop. We were sick of watching it, all right? But we've allowed it to go on to the point at a crucial game in a final, our most important game last year, Pete Green runs on the field. Ooh, stop. Oh, he's got to stop. Why? Well, you're not going to bend in his shoe or something. I don't know. Something's happened. He's got a sore ankle. This is where we get to if we listen to the fans and if people who don't know how to implement the rules implement them, and then we allow the referees to run their own race. How long does this show go for? How many want me to go?
As long as you want, Gus.
You
Gus,
just keep going.
me and you actually have agreed on this one. This is one we're
100%.
agreeing on. I'm with you.
100%.
I'm with you.
This is the receipt you get at the back end of the year when you run your competition the way you have during the year.
100%.
And that's not criticism, that's trying to help you, trying to help the game. Because now you've found out fans are sick of it, absolutely sick of it. We had our experts here the other night looking at the Jerome Luai disallowed try for obstruction. Now, we had the eighth immortal, we had Paul Gallen on the telestrator. Now, if I was defending this, I'd run here and I'd do this, I'd do that. Mitchell Moses said, I'll fix it, I'll just run into the decoy run and get us a penalty. And that's all he did. He said, that's how I'll fix it. I'll just go and tackle the decoy runner and let it disrupt the line. And the video ref, he doesn't know any better.
I understand the obstruction rule. And me and Gus argue about this week in, week out. That is not an obstruction.
Of course it's not.
That's a try.
Yeah, and Mitchell Moses actually half-pipe tackles him to make sure the collision takes place.
Well,
Throws his arm out tackling. Later in the game, Nia Corey gets put on report for a tackle on James Fisher-Harris, who, for all money, looked like he was getting the ball, bumped him. They come back, put him on report, free interchange. Fisher-Harris goes off and has a rest and comes back on. The rules are wrong. They're not made of porcelain. I understand well-being, but this whole thing... Don't start me on the James McManus court case on concussion, please. That's a whole different show.
Just so people understand that particular one, Burton, the lead runner, he's working on Penasini. He's trying to hold Penasini up so Luai goes out the back and creates a 2-on-1 situation. Penasini wasn't held up. He went out. He chased Luai out the back, so it's 2-on-2. So no one was held up. He didn't quite have the pace to get to Luai. No one was held up. The fact is Mitchell Moses ran across, bumped into Burton, who's the lead runner, had nothing to do with Mitchell Moses. Yeah. That should have been a try.
So here's the thing, Paul. In defining obstruction and what obstruction is or isn't, right? Penrith ran exactly the same play 3 or 4 weeks in a row, the exactly same play, and everyone reacted differently to it. They ran exactly the same play. They didn't do anything different. They didn't do anything wrong. They ran their play, and you have to react. They reacted by getting themselves obstructed.
Well,
it's their fault, it's not the attacking team's fault.
Just for people at home, had Burton run on the outside shoulder of Penasini and blocked his run at any stage, that would be an obstruction. But he ran on the inside shoulder of Penasini, which was his job, and
Last
he
year
did
I
the
said
job
to you,
right.
I sat you people in a circle on this silly table and said if I run at his inside shoulder, I'm running at your outside shoulder. If I run at your inside shoulder,
Gus,
I'm running at your outside shoulder.
I know you are, but the people in the bunker should know and should understand.
You're taking a long time to tell me I was right. You're taking a lot of
you weren't right. You're not right on all of them.
I am right.
You're right on that one. You're not right on all of them.
I'm 100% right.
Gus, you understand what the game's trying to create. They're trying to create 2-on-1 situations, are they not?
100% right. The attack does the same thing. Defences handle it their way.
No, Gus, see, now,
Make it open
now you're not answering. Now you're being silly. Now you're being silly. No, it's being silly.
I'm telling you that if the attacking team does nothing wrong, then how should they be penalised for it?
Shouldn't have been penalised for that one, but...
And if he doesn't score, he wouldn't have been penalised for it.
If you two keep going, I'll be throwing a Carl and Alley at the end of the show. You're watching.